Dolly Parton just passed away at 80 years old. In tribute to her extraordinary life and legacy, I'm going to cover three really interesting things that very few people know about Dolly. And the last one is especially vital for anyone who has ever faced cancer, navigated a serious illness in their family, or cared for someone they love, because I think it reveals a very powerful secret that Dolly kept until the very end. When someone as legendary as Dolly leaves us, the tributes pour in instantly. People talk about the rhinestones, the towering blonde wigs, the unforgettable laugh, and that unmistakable mountain clear soprano voice. They celebrate her greatest hits and her status as a global icon. While I think all of that deserves our applause, I think what is far more worth celebrating is the actual behind the scenes story of who Dolly Parton really was, especially in her final chapter. If you only remember her as a celebrity, you will miss the most profound and deeply human lesson of her entire life. I'm Neil K. Shah, a Johns Hopkins and NIH-funded caregiving researcher and the CEO of Caregiver. I've spent years helping thousands of families navigate aging, serious illness, and dementia. I'm not a clinician, but a leading researcher and innovator in caregiving, and I wanted to make this video to uncover the deeper meaning behind Dolly's final days and to share her wisdom so that it can help you and the people you love. Please do me a quick favor and hit the like button and share this video so that others may see it. The first thing I think very few people realize is that Dolly celebrated her 80th birthday earlier this year by giving away her final gift, months before anyone in the public knew her cancer secret. Most people out there celebrate turning 80 by throwing large parties, accepting lifetime achievement awards, taking a well-earned victory lap. They even accept gifts from their loved ones or buy gifts to treat themselves. But in January 2026, when Dolly reached that milestone 80th birthday, she didn't ask for a single thing for herself. Instead, she gave a massive gift to help others. She walked into a recording studio and created a breathtaking new version of her 1977 hit song, Light of a Clear Blue Morning. She brought in an extraordinary circle of women to join her: Miley Cyrus, Reba McEntire, Lainey Wilson, and Queen Latifah. David Foster sat down at the piano, and the powerful voices of the Christ Church choir filled the background. When that song was released, Dolly announced that 100% of the proceeds would go directly to support children fighting cancer at the Monroe Carell Jr. Children's Hospital at Vanderbilt in Nashville. When Dolly later passed away, also at Vanderbilt Cancer Center, the news hit the world like a ton of bricks. At first glance, you might look at the timeline and feel a sense of irony. You might wonder how a woman who spent her 80th birthday raising money to help children fight cancer could be taken by cancer just 7 months later. And I think that brings us directly to the second thing very few people know. Her own cancer was not the reason Dolly became generous about cancer care. Dolly didn't start caring about cancer research just because she received a scary diagnosis herself. She'd been quietly funding the fight against cancer, visiting hospital rooms, and comforting sick children for more than 33 years. Her bond with pediatric cancer was deeply personal to her family. Back in 1993, long before celebrity fundraisers were trending online, a crisis struck her own family. Her 4-year-old niece, Hannah Dennison, the daughter of Dolly's younger sister Rachel, was diagnosed with aggressive leukemia. If you've ever had a child or a grandchild or a niece or a nephew face a life-threatening illness, you know the absolute terror of that phone call. Your entire world stops spinning. All the money, the career, the busy schedule, all that instantly means nothing. Hannah was rushed to Vanderbilt Children's Hospital in Nashville, and for 4 long and agonizing years, that little girl underwent grueling rounds of chemotherapy, blood transfusions, weeks in the hospital at a time. Dolly was right there beside her family. She walked those hospital corridors, sat by Hannah's bedside, holding her little hands. She watched the pediatric nurses working 12-hour shifts with endless patients, and she saw the terrified faces of the other parents and families in the waiting rooms who were just praying for a miracle for their kids. Against incredible odds, Hannah survived. She went into full remission and grew up to live a healthy life. But Dolly never forgot what the doctors and nurses at Vanderbilt did for her niece. She even called Hannah her chemo hero. In 2017, when Dolly released her children's album, I Believe in You, she wrote an upbeat and encouraging song specifically called Chemo Hero to give brave little kids something to smile about during their difficult chemotherapy treatments. And she didn't just write a song. Dolly also wrote a check for $1 million to Vanderbilt's pediatric cancer program. So in 2018, the hospital honored that 33-year bond by dedicating the Hannah Dennison Butterfly Garden. They built a beautiful, peaceful outdoor sanctuary right there on the hospital grounds where sick children who are attached to IV lines could go outside, feel the warm sunshine on their face, and watch colorful butterflies flutter through the flowers. At the dedication ceremony, standing next to her grown-up niece, Dolly wiped away tears and told everyone that while miracles come from God, they happen through the hands of doctors, nurses, research, and love. So when Dolly released that new track this year on her 80th birthday, I think she wasn't doing an unplanned celebrity publicity stunt. She was really fulfilling a promises that she had kept for over 3 decades. She was ensuring that the medical teams that saved her niece would have the resources to save thousands of other children. Now, that brings me to the third and most important thing about Dolly Parton, and the part of her story that I think holds a vital lesson for every single one of us. Why did Dolly fight her final battle with cancer in complete and total secrecy? I think in our modern culture, we've grown accustomed to too much transparency. We live in an era where celebrities and social media influencers broadcast their most private, vulnerable moments online. Every selfie that's taken in a hospital gown, every medical update shared on Instagram, every lab result, every tearful video is shared with millions of strangers for likes, views, and comments. We've been taught to believe that if you don't share your private pain with the world, you're somehow hiding something. I think Dolly Parton showed why that entire way of thinking is wrong. She chose radical privacy, and I think she was totally right to do so. And there's interesting lessons to understand. Why did she keep her illness secret? You first have to understand the true purpose of her famous public persona. I think for over 60 years, Dolly presented herself to the world wrapped up in rhinestones, towering blonde wigs, 6-inch high heels, elaborate makeup, and an endless stream of self-deprecating jokes. She even famously told interviewers, it costs a lot of money to look this cheap. She always laughed about her looks, joked about her plastic surgery, and gave talk show hosts every easy punchline that they could ever want. Most people just thought it was fun, country-style showmanship. But I think it was actually an impenetrable and brilliant shield. Dolly gave the public every single sequin, every big smile, and every funny one-liner so that she would never have to give them a single ounce of her private pain. Her campy, glittering image was a deliberate boundary mechanism, and it allowed her to be the most beloved and accessible superstar in the world while keeping her actual soul, her private marriage to her husband, Carl Dean, and her family life completely protected. Think about what actually happens when a public figure announces a terminal illness or a severe cancer diagnosis. The moment that such a diagnosis becomes public, they lose control of their lives. You're converted immediately into a public countdown clock. Every headline turns into a death watch. Every time you leave your house, people stare at your face, analyzing, whether you look thin, pale, or frail. Strangers flood you with unproven medical advice, invasive questions, and pity. Friends and fans begin grieving you while you're still alive, robbing you of the normalcy, joy, and peace that you may need to get through the days. I think Dolly refused to let cancer turn her into an object of pity. She refused to let her illness dictate the final chapter of her story. Even back in October 2025, when her sister Frida posted a message online asking fans to pray for Dolly, the internet went wild with rumors. People even claimed Dolly was in critical condition. She didn't panic, and she didn't give in to the media pressure. She posted a cheerful video from home, looked right into the camera, and said with a big smile, "Do I look sick to you? I'm working hard here." She acknowledged that she was dealing with some physical wear and tear and the deep grief of losing her husband, Carl, but she completely shut down that gossip. And she managed her own narrative until her very last breath. She chose to spend her final year writing music, producing projects, and laughing and spending time with her loved ones, rather than answering endless questions about cancer treatments and prognosis. If you are currently out there facing an illness, or if you're caring for a loved one who's sick, I think this is a lesson you could take to heart. You do not owe the world your medical details. You don't have to explain your diagnosis, your treatment choices, or your physical decline to your coworkers or your distant relatives or even to nosy acquaintances just to satisfy their curiosity. I think in these situations, privacy isn't deception, but it really helps you maintain your dignity, protecting your emotional space and keeping your energy focused on healing, comfort, and your private family is one of the most empowering choices you can make. And I think Dolly showed us that maintaining your boundaries can actually be an act of profound self-respect. And what I think also makes Dolly's moments even more astonishing is that she never stopped moving forward. Just 4 days before she passed away, People magazine published an interview where Dolly was talking about her future plans. She admitted that her body had taken a heavy beating while she cared for her late husband, Carl, during his extended illness, and she shared that she was still working to rebuild her physical strength. But also in the same interview, she delivered a line that defines her spirit. Seriously, though, even though I'm still healing, I'm still working. And meanwhile, she was 80 years old, battling cancer behind closed doors, and she was actively thinking about and building the future. She was developing a brand new Broadway musical based on her life called Dolly, a true original musical. She was planning a hotel and museum experience in downtown Nashville. She was consulting on state-of-the-art avatar technology so that digital performances of her songs could entertain audiences long after she was gone. She even joked about the Avatar shows, saying that if technology could put her on stage forever, she'd never have to worry about being a no-show Jones like her dear old friend George Jones. Her nephew, Brian Seaver, shared that Dolly had planned out her final farewell years in advance. Just like she'd organized her businesses, her investments, and her music rights, she had pre-scripted her announcement so that when the time came, her family and the team could handle the news with complete grace, peace, and order. I think Dolly was never someone who just let life happen to her. She designed her life, and she even designed her legacy. When many celebrities pass away, I think their work slowly just fades into history. The brands get sold off, the foundations quickly run out of money, and their impact winds down. But Dolly built an empire of compassion that's designed to keep running as an engine of good. Think about what is happening in the world right now, today, even though Dolly is no longer with us. In Knoxville, Tennessee, nurses and doctors are caring for sick children at East Tennessee Children's Hospital, which earlier this year was officially renamed the Dolly Parton Children's Hospital. That facility stands as a permanent home for pediatric care across Appalachia. Nearby, the LeConte Medical Center operates a 30,000 square foot Dolly Parton Center for Women's Services and the Dolly Parton Birthing Unit, providing top-tier medical care to women and families who once had to travel hours just to see a specialist. At Vanderbilt University Medical Center, scientists and oncologists are actively using research grants funded by Dolly's contributions to develop new therapies for children battling rare cancers. Across 4 different countries, the US, Canada, the United Kingdom, and Australia, mail carriers are delivering packages to front doors today. And inside those packages are brand new high-quality books mailed directly to young children from Dolly's Imagination Library. That program, which has already put over 315 million books free into the hands of children, is fully funded and designed to keep mailing millions of free books every single month for years to come. At Dollywood, working-class employees are attending college right now with 100% of their tuition, books, and fees paid for by Dolly's Educational Foundation. Her Broadway musical will still open, and I think her theme parks will keep welcoming, millions of families. Her songs will still keep playing on the radio and on stages, in every corner of the world. I think Dolly didn't just leave behind memories. She left behind an unstoppable machine of hope. And I think that brings us to the core question that Dolly's life asks of every one of us. How do we choose to live when our life gets difficult? Many people wait for a personal crisis to happen to them before they start caring about other people's struggles. We often wait until someone in our own house gets sick before we care about cancer. We wait until an aging parent collapses before we realize how exhausting caregiving really is for other people. We wait until our own health is failing before we stop to think about what kind of mark we will leave on the world. And I think Dolly totally reversed that. She didn't wait to realize how people are struggling with poverty. She remembered where she came from in that small mountain cabin, and then she spent the next several decades of her life lifting other people out of hardship. She did not wait for cancer to strike her own body. She spent over 30 years funding cancer research, building butterfly gardens, and donating her music royalties so that other people and children could fight cancer and live long and healthy lives themselves. She did not wait for praise. She worked quietly, gave away hundreds of millions, often without getting credit, and let her actions speak for themselves. If you are a caregiver right now, listen to this while managing a loved one's illness, or you're sitting with your loved one who's getting chemotherapy, or you're grieving the recent loss of a spouse, I think you can take comfort from Dolly's journey. Caring for someone who is ill, I think, is the heaviest and most sacred responsibility that many of us will ever carry. It tests your body, your soul, your mind, your heart. And Dolly understood that toll completely. She knew what it was like to feel physically depleted after caring for her husband, Carl. She knew the sharp pain of loneliness that comes after losing the love of her life. And she also knew that real love is never wasted. I think that the compassion you give to others changes who you are. It opens your eyes to the quiet suffering all around you, and it gives you the strength to reach out and help someone else who might be struggling. As a society, I think we have to do better and start showing up for the people who are carrying these heavy burdens all around us. We need to support the nurses who hold the hands of frightened children in cancer wards at 2 o'clock in the morning. We need to help the researchers who are spending their entire lives searching for a cure to aggressive diseases. We need to create workplaces and communities and healthcare systems where millions of caregivers are not left to drown in physical exhaustion and financial stress taking care of their loved ones. I think we need to stop offering empty words and start building real and practical solutions to some of these major challenges in care. When Dolly wrote that song, Light of a Clear Blue Morning, back in 1977, she was going through a painful transition in her own life, trying to find her own path and overcome major challenges. And she wrote that song as a reminder to herself that no storm lasts forever, singing these lyrics. It has been a long, dark night, and I've been waiting for the morning. It's been a long, hard fight, but I see a brand new day a-dawning. 50 years later, on her 80th birthday, she sang those exact same words for children facing cancer. For herself, cancer may appear in the final line of her story, but the love, the generosity, and the unyielding courage filled every single chapter that came before it. Today, a 4-year-old child is finishing their final round of chemotherapy at Vanderbilt, declared cancer-free because of the work that Dolly helped fund. And somewhere out there today, a little boy is running out to a mailbox in rural America, pulling out his very first book with a smile stretching from ear to ear. And somewhere out there, a nurse is walking into a shift, maybe at Dolly Parton's children's hospital, carrying the love of a woman who never gave up on the power of kindness. I think that is what true legacy looks like. This week, Dolly finally made it home. Her physical voice may have gone quiet, but I think the good that she built will never stop singing, and that can inspire us all. I'm Neil K. Shah. Thank you for watching. Let's take care of each other, support the caregivers in your life, and keep looking for that clear blue morning. Rest in peace, Dolly.